what the heck did I do wrong? What? No, what? No, there's no way. There's no way. No, I couldn't have gotten to them. No, I know I'm a very safe rider. I took all the courses. I do all the right things. I don't do wheelies. I don't do tricks. And I mean, when I tell you my mind did not stop, that was like felt like the longest day ever.
Welcome to the Persistence U podcast with Lisbeth. That's you as in university, but we're really much more of a community here. Your host is Lisbeth Meredith. She's an author, speaker, and online teacher. Each week, she'll be delivering amazing stories from survivors and thrivers, all threaded together with a dose of persistence. We're so glad you're listening.
You don't just end up in the Air Force. So, someone who has goals, someone who's pretty organized, moving forward, got a career going, and then something happened. Can you tell us a little bit about the day that life changed amazingly for you? There was life before and life after, and never would it be quite the same.
Yes, but first, before I get into that, Liz, I truly appreciate you having me on your platform and allowing me to tell my story first and foremost. And then also with the planning, I like what you said about that because my planning started in elementary school. And the reason I say that is because everybody got asked that question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I had NFL player and I had military member. Those are the two occupations I thought of. I cannot lie.
Wow. And
And
you
it's
did play football.
I absolutely did.
Okay.
Absolutely did. All the way up to the semi-professional level. I sure did. I sure did. And so um it's interesting that you bring that up. But here we go. Let's dive into the story. So May 5th, 2017, I have to first tell you what all I was doing before I could tell you about what happened. So I was in the United States Air Force now as a reservist. I did 4 years active duty and switched over to be a reservist. Probably one of the best decisions I ever made. Might be different for others, but one of the best I made for myself
Okay.
because I would then go on to also become a CEO. I had the entrepreneurial mindset. I still do till today because I have a business now called Amey Motivation where I do motivational speaking and mentoring and coaching. So I always had that entrepreneurial mindset. But with the business that I did then, which was called Kiwi Enterprise, Kiwi on in my everyday life, personal life, that's my nickname. I grew up with that name. And I also would be called that in the Air Force because that was my call sign as an aircrew member. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so it carried over into military as well. And so at Kiwi Enterprise, I would do website design and management, for social media marketing, as well as photography. And I mentioned those things because they're a part of this story. I also was going to school full time. I had to get my college degree. I wanted to commission and become a pilot in the Air Force as well. I only had 1 year left on my degree until this accident occurred. That day, May 5th, 2017, I would get on my motorcycle and go to the place where I was managing one of the websites for because as I checked on their website, I noticed that a lot of the photos were outdated. And so I went to ride there from my apartment, and the ride from my apartment to the church where I stayed, it was about 10 minutes, give or take. And so, and that's just one way. And so I get over there, take the shots, and beautiful pictures. That 10-minute ride, that's not long. On a motorcycle, that's like, and
Right.
you're there, for motorcycle riders. People on motorcycles know what I'm talking about. And so I say, you know what? I'm going to go to my spot that I usually go relax at. And that here in North Carolina, where I live, is called Jordan Lake. I zone out whenever I'm sitting there. I am zoned out. And then a car comes flying by on the highway that's sitting right there by that dock. I was like, oh man. So I look down at my wristwatch that I used to wear at the time. And I was like, oh man, I gotta go. I got somewhere to be. And so I hop back on the bike and I take off. Well, as I'm riding my bike, I had a helmet that, had Bluetooth capability. So I could listen to music. I could answer phone calls. If I had the GPS going on my phone, it would tell me when I needed to turn type stuff, things like that. Gorgeous day, might I add. And then I get to this one intersection and out pulls a car, silver Honda Accord to be exact, from the police report, because I don't know nothing about it. All I know is from the police report is that it was a silver Honda Accord that pulled out in front of me. And I tell everybody I had three options. I could have went right and went into the trees that I've just told you guys about. Could have went left and went to oncoming traffic. Or I could have did what ended up happening and froze and hit him. And so I freeze up. I hit him. And if you try to stop a bike instantaneously, like it's just got to stop right now. Yeah. The only way it's doing that is if you hit somebody like I did, or if you lock up that brake and you go flying off of the bike. That's the only way it's going to stop.
What's your next memory? Like that happened and I'll bet you were out quickly. What do you remember next?
Yeah, no, I don't know anything from that accident except from what was on the police report.
Wow.
I know nothing from the accident. So May 5th was the day of the accident. When I woke up, I still thought it was May 5th. Well, guess what? It's now June the 6th.
Oh my goodness.
Because I was in a medically induced coma, having countless surgeries done, literally from head down to my right foot. Literally. So I have 2 metal plates inserted in my head, my right eye, the right bottom portion of my eyelid, so the right eye, that was torn off. So they had to surgically repair that with skin grafting from my left clavicle. For my certain people who are in the medical field, y'all know what that is. But those who don't, it's the collarbone area. They replaced that because my right eye had been popped out during that accident. Don't get me started. And so then I had a bunch of damage done to my eye, and I'm guessing, or eyes, both eyes, and I'm guessing that's from the plexiglass as well as like the damage, because my face was pretty much crushed in.
Okay.
And so I have damaged blood vessels in my left eye, so that's completely blacked out. The right eye, I can see a little bit of light perception, but it has to be super bright light like the sun, or that really annoying light that they shine in your eye at the eye doctor. Yeah, that one. That one. And then I also broke my jaw. Mainly, like a lot of the damage was on the right side of my jaw. I have a lot of chipped and cracked teeth on my right side, missing teeth as well. I think 2 of them they had to pull. One was knocked loose, and the other one they found out like would later need to be taken out. It was kind of one of those things. They were discovering things as they went along. Had root canal after root canal after root canal. I was like, I don't even know if I have anybody in my family who's had that many root canals in their life. I had like 3 or 4 of them just from one accident. So
You have the accident in May and
Yeah.
you wake up in June, the first time you remember from that coma.
June the 6th.
What was that like?
Well, first and foremost, I was trying to figure out, why do I hear voices? And then I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I know why my girlfriend would be in my bedroom, because that's where I thought I was. Why is my girlfriend's in my bedroom? She's not my ex. And then I look over to, well, why is my mama in here? Like, and it's one of those things. Why would my mom be in my bedroom? I'm sleeping here.
Right.
And I'm like, this is a little personal. Hello, can you get out? And so that's what I'm thinking. But at the same time, I'm playing possum because I'm listening to them talk. And I'm like, wait a minute. What are they talking about? A motorcycle? I wonder who. And they never said who. And I was listening for a long time. My bad. And so I finally, muster up some strength to say, okay, I'm done playing the possum game. Let me just get up. And so I went to open my eyes and I couldn't see anything. I said, wait a minute. And you know how you do one of those hard blinks to try to clear your eyes?
Right.
Well, yeah, that didn't work. And so I started trying to talk. But as I told you, my jaw had been broken and they wired it shut. So now I can't see, I can't talk. And then I didn't even realize I couldn't smell.
Oh.
Because you don't really pay attention to smell until you smell a foul odor or something that's like a sweet aroma. Your favorite dish. Just think of your favorite dish right now. You're probably like, oh yeah, that's some good smelling stuff. you know? And
Right.
I didn't think of it because I was breathing just fine. And that's when you think about stuff like that. When you're, not able to do something, you start thinking of, well, what the heck happened? But I could breathe just fine. So I didn't think about it in that manner. And so they started to hear me making all these different noises and moving or trying to move, shall I say. It wasn't like I was restrained to the bed. I was just weak. All the surgeries and literally laying in a hospital bed for a month. You're going to be without muscle. And so my mom, she finally comes to the left side. If I'm, laying this way, the same way I'm facing you, and my feet are down there, she comes to the left side of the bed. My girlfriend at the time, she was on the right side. And she was like, what's wrong? What's going on? What's going on? And I'm trying to tell her, but again, I can't talk. So all she's doing is hearing me murmur what I can. And she's like, hold on. And I'm like, okay. And so then she comes back with a notepad and a pencil and she hands it to me. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, it was one of those, are you serious right now? I can't see. It's,
Aw.
and yeah, and I'm so like, she's like, but you've been writing. And I was like, I've been writing. What are you talking about? So apparently my subconscious had been working. I just didn't know.
Oh,
Like I
okay.
wasn't aware of it. And so anywho, I take the pen and the pen and the paper and I'm writing and trying my best not to write over top of what I already wrote. And I'm sure I'm writing huge.
Correct.
But anyway, I hand it back to her and she reads it and it says, what is this motorcycle accident dream y'all keep talking about? And she's like, that's not a dream. That was you.
Wow.
I didn't say anything else for the rest of that day. Because I basically, as the saying goes, just got hit with a ton of bricks.
Right.
And so now my mind's trying to process, well, what the heck did I do wrong? What? No, what? No, there's no way. There's no way. No, I couldn't have gotten to them. No, I know I'm a very safe rider. I took all the courses. I do all the right things. I don't do wheelies. I don't do tricks. And I mean, when I tell you my mind did not stop, that was felt like the longest day ever. Because I'm trying to figure this thing out. Until June the 7th, I finally sit back and say, well, let me ask the real questions. What happened? And
Right.
how did it happen? And then that's when she finally told me about, what the guy pulled out in front of me, the police report, what it said, how 2 cars behind him saw me coming. But he didn't. And they don't know how. 2 cars, not 1, 2 cars behind him saw me coming. But he didn't see me coming. How so? And so, that whole thing, and I honestly didn't even really bother to know what all was wrong with me at the time until I just started realizing I couldn't do nothing.
Right.
I had to call for everything. The only things that were really working for me were my hands, like my arms. I could move those. That was really the only thing that I could move on my own. Everything else, I had to either pull on something, have somebody move it for me, something. It was even hard to move my head because I had a neck collar on, had a
Okay.
neck brace on because of the severe whiplash. And I kept trying to take that thing off every chance I got because it was choking me. I felt like, and I told the lady, I said, this thing is choking me. Do y'all have like a bigger size? And she was like, no, it would be too big for you. And I was like, well, customize that sucker. Put it on my bill because this is irritating.
Right.
And people don't think about that either. You know, the discomfort side of the medical, thing. Yeah, it's supposed to be good for you. It's helping you, but what is it doing to me? Like it's also hindering me. I feel like I'm being choked.
Right. And
And
also, I remember hearing that you wisely knew that you didn't want to be on heavy duty pain meds that were opioids for long, there are a lot of us, if we get an injury, I think it's cultural in our country, we feel like pain is to be eradicated. And therefore, it's better to go on an opioid and not feel it. But you knew early on, like, hey, I do not want to start that problem. Tell us a little bit about that and how it was your recovery began. I mean, I think recovery is a lifelong process, but your initial recovery, what did you have to do in your mindset to keep moving forward? Because you had a business that relied on sight,
Oh,
photographer,
yeah.
web designer, social media,
Yeah.
your hobbies
All of
dealt with your site, your Air Force career dealt with,
yes,
your site.
absolutely.
Suddenly your identity is like shifted.
Mhm.
How did you decide to move forward?
Yeah, so back to the opioid thing. That's a huge one.
Yes.
Opioid epidemic is honestly still a thing.
Yes.
And so that it kind of goes back to my childhood. I could not stand taking medicine, whether it was liquid or pill. I don't want it.
Right.
So that's where that came from. That's where that derived from. They kept handing me all these pills that I'm having to take. What is this crap first and foremost? And why do I have to take it?
Right. Right.
This
If
is
it's
when I
not
could
helping you
actually take it
heal.
by mouth, you know what I mean? But
Right.
I could actually take it by mouth because they wanted me to start reactivating my passage.
Okay. Sure.
And so anyway, they kept handing me different now. I'm like, what is this? And they be like, well, that's this and that's that. And that right there is oxy. I said, who? And when they said oxy, as soon as they said ox, I was like, what is who? And she told me oxycodone. And I said, why am I on that? She's like, oh, that's for your pain. I said, I don't want it. Take me off. And she said, well, I can't do that. I said, well, find somebody who can.
Right.
You're a nurse. I understand that. But find somebody who can take me off because I don't want it. Why is that the first thing that pops up? Like when you're going through, I get it. I did have a lot of surgery and I'm not saying I didn't. Trust me, I feel it every single day till today.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, can we go up instead of starting up and going down? I rather, you don't start at the top of the ladder. You go from the bottom of the ladder up.
Sure.
And that's how the pain scale should be. I want to go from 1 up to the 10 on these medications as well.
Only if I need to. Only if I need to go to
Yeah.
10.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I should start at 1 though.
Right.
Well, is this working for you? No, okay, let's go to 2. Is this working for you? No, okay, let's go. Like that's how it should be. They dropped me all the way up here.
Right.
Well, he's gonna need this. And I'm like, no, you want me to take that because that's the most expensive pill y'all got in this hospital. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so that's how I view that stuff. And so when I was looking at it and they were like, well, we're going to change you off of the oxy. We're going to put you on the Proxen. I said, well, thank you. They said, but they think you're going to have some, some issues with pain. I said, I still have issues with pain regardless. So either you were going to try to put me on more oxy or I could just take this naproxen and deal with it. And so
Right.
I did that, switched over to the naproxen. There was no difference.
Okay. Good.
Exactly. But that's the problem. There was no difference. And you had me up here.
And it's great a lesson in advocating for yourself.
Exactly.
And
Exactly what
just
it was.
using your voice in a polite but persistent way to say, thank you, no, let's see what else is out there.
Thank you, but no thank you.
Right.
I get what you're trying to do, but let's
Right.
try this. And so that's how I got through that. Now, with the recovery side of it, of course, I definitely, pushed pretty hard, not just because so I had to learn how to walk all over again because I broke both of my legs and my spinal cord was medically infused now with 2 rods and 12 screws. So I have metal implants in my spine as well as both legs. So I'm having to learn how to walk all over again, literally, because my right foot was stuck in a position where I could only walk on the ball of my foot. I couldn't even put it all the way down. That's how it was stuck. I don't know how. I don't know what happened. It was an accident.
Right.
So it took me months, almost a year, but it took me months to get that sucker in a good flexing position where it would go back and forth because it was just stuck. I mean, literally just stuck down. And I was so kind of honestly depressed by it. I was like, that's crazy. Like, I can't even get my foot to move. I don't care what I put on it, how much weight I put on it. Somebody could get on my back and it still wouldn't go down.
Right.
It's just one of those trauma things. You got to flex it. You just got to work at it. And so, anywho, I worked so hard, that competitor side of me came out. The football, like I told you, I've been playing sports since I was 5. I started bowling. That's where I started at. But, finally finding my niche, which was football. I loved it. I played it, coached it, mentored it. Listen, I'm watching film all the time. It don't matter. I can still tell people what's going on and I'm blind, okay? And so I love football. And so I was actually playing up until my accident. So I was definitely in shape. And they said that's actually what probably kept me alive more than anything. I mean, I am a believer, a faith believer, so I know another thing that kept me alive. But they did say me being in great physical shape really did
Sure.
keep me in a good position as well. So I do advocate for that. I do
love that.
advocate
Okay.
for health and fitness.
And also, one thing that was a really fabulous thing, you were connected well before all this happened to your faith community. It sounds
Yes.
like you have a pretty supportive family as well. And not everyone has that. And that is fantastic too. But even that in the process of recovery can only do so much. We can only rely on people so much before we might need a little extra something like
Yeah.
therapy. When did that factor in for you? Because I know from your story that that's something you talk about is like at some point it's okay to ask for a little more support and get therapy. And that in itself supports our support system.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would say that started to become a factor when things or people did start letting me down.
Yeah.
So yes, I had a strong support. Listen, when I tell you I was in that hospital and I felt like there was no day that I was in there and somebody didn't stop by. I was in there for 2 months and somebody did not stop by. I appreciate every person that came by to visit me while I was in the hospital. And it's a big thing to me. It was and I also have to say this because I personally, since I've been in that situation, I have to advocate for others who are in the situation. If you have a family, friend, associate, coworker in a situation where they're either in a hospital, a rehab center, some kind of facility that they can receive visitors, please, and I mean please, go visit them because you might not feel like you can look at them or see them in that way, but they would love to see you.
Right.
Because I loved every person that walked through that door. I was like, oh man, and all these emotions start flooding back to that person. They're so excited to see you. You might think, oh, I can't see him like that. Oh, that's gonna hurt me. But if you never come see me, it's gonna hurt both of us.
Right. That's a very good point. And they often will see a survivor. That's what they'll see. They'll see the miracle. Not
Exactly.
everyone. There are people who aren't built for trauma. They really
Well,
are. And,
I get it.
you can have close family and friends and be very surprised sometimes at who can show up for you, which is a wonderful surprise, and who can't, which is crushing. But it is just human nature, I believe. So it's really important to be able to then ask, as the support system needs to be strengthened, or maybe some mental health counseling.
Yeah. And so back to the therapy side of it, like I said, certain people started letting me down. Even one of the young ladies that I was talking to at the time, she just ghosted me. And for those who don't know what that means, straight up, flat out, stop talking to me.
Right.
Changed her phone number and everything. I said, "Oh wow, that's what we're doing."
Oh, I'm so sorry, Kiwan.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Yep.
now, granted, it was a good thing. It was actually one of the better things for me because I saw what she was looking for.
Right.
That support of what I had, what I could give her.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, I don't want that person."
Right.
You know? And so it was a good thing because it showed me something, but also it did at the time tear me down and make
Sure.
me depressed. Even to a point, and not just that point or that instance, not just that instance, but a couple other things happened that also took me into a suicidal point where I was suicidal at one point, and I had to find a way out. I had to find a way of escape from that, not from this whole entire world. Because when I got to that point, I said, "This is not Kiwi.
Right.
Kiwi does not think like this. So who is this? Because they got to go. I got to get Kiwi back in here so we can get back to exciting people, motivating people, inspiring people. Even myself, I need to inspire myself. you know." And so that's what I did. I did the mental therapy thing, and they were showing me different techniques, different coping mechanisms, and just all the different routes of, hey man, you got to get back outside. You really do. Like staying inside, that's going to eat away at you, and it
Right.
did.
Good though that you were open to that. That's just
Mhm.
amazing because that's kind of everything. If you're open to the recovery process being ongoing, not easy, and probably lifelong, you're in great shape.
Oh
I
yeah.
I kind of chuckle when people, especially with medical things, when we tell people, well, and the recovery process is typically, and what maybe we should be saying is the initial recovery process.
Mhm.
You know, stage one is
Yeah.
often this long. However, so that we're prepared, because your life changed. And in some ways, when you look at you today, in some ways for the better. I mean, you still
Mhm.
are an entrepreneur. We're
Oh
going to
yeah.
skip some of the middle parts, but I do want to hear how you got to the point where you knew, oh, Kiwi is back. And Kiwan still has business acumen and so much to offer the world. And think I'll write a book.
Well, when I figured out Kiwi was back was when I kept telling my story. And this is before the podcast, before the interviews, before the YouTube videos, all the stuff y'all seen and heard so far. This is before all that. This is me just talking one on one, sitting at my house,
Right.
and people would come visit me, and they would say, "So how you holding up, man?" "Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, it's like to me, you're doing really good." And I was like, "Yeah, really? Thanks. Well, tell me more. What do you
Love
know
that.
that I don't?" You know what I mean?
Right.
And so they're like, "I just see you moving around, and you can't see, but you open the door for me, and there's nobody here. It's just you, you know." And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of things for myself. So I mean, if you need anything, just let me know." That kind of thing. And it was certain things where I had to tell myself, "I'm back because I'm independent again. I could be independent again." From just, navigating around the house to being able to navigate at a mall. Literally, I was navigating at a mall in Durham, North Carolina called South Point. And I'm walking around from literally, what would we start? We would start outside. We would start outside and go from the area where you're going past the fountain into the mall where you're gonna end up right there by the escalators and go upstairs. I can get on the escalator, go upstairs, or I could take the elevator. Either way, but I would usually go to escalator route. I like that better because it puts you right in the food court,
Okay.
and I could go to the food court. And if I needed assistance, I could say, "Hey, could you point me in the direction of?" And I would say the restaurant. For example, a Chick-fil-A. "Could
Okay.
you point me in that direction? Or you show it to me. You feel free to walk me to it if you like." And then, or I could go, I knew where some of my favorite stores were that I actually shopped at, like J.C. Penney's and, DTLR, and all these different stores that were there. And so that's what I did. Once I got in the store, I would go to the sales associate and say, "Could I get assistance?" You know, and different things like that. That's when I understood I was capable of being me again. Once I was able to get back outside, oh shucks, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was like, oh man, I'm back. My grandmother, her and I, we were just talking the other day, and she was talking about when we went, because like for those who don't know, I play drums for my church, and we went to a guest church, and I had to help set up some drums. Again, I can't see a thing, but I know what every drum feels like.
Mm.
And so she was like, I just sat back and I watched you as you were putting together these drums. And I was sitting there thinking, I couldn't even do that. And I can see all this stuff.
Oh, that's
And,
got to feel great.
well, yeah, it did. And I was just like, you know what, Grandma? And that's the first time you told me that story. And that was years ago when that happened, And she was like, well, yeah, I still remember that. And I was like, you were just putting on, and she said it was her and somebody else. They were just sitting back there. Look at him. He's just putting all that stuff together. And he doesn't need any help. He just asks people to grab something and he'll put it together and do it. It was amazing, and I was like, hey, trust me, I know these drums. I've been doing that since I was 7. So, and I'm 33 now. I said, I know these drums. That's one thing I do now.
Oh, that's beautiful. And when did you know? I mean, now today you're a motivational speaker, you're an author. When did you decide? And just so you know, I'll edit this part out, but I've got another person coming soon, so I want to wrap up. When did you know that you wanted to write your book? Because that's pretty incredible. Writing a book is not easy whatsoever. Being sight impaired, I'm sure that didn't make it necessarily easier. And you did it.
Yeah, my friend Sam, God rest his soul, he passed away, I think 2 years ago now. He kind of mentioned that to me. Dude, you should write a book about what happened. Like, tell your story. And I thought the same thing. Like, I keep hearing everybody else's story. I hear a story from my mom. I hear a story from my dad. I hear a story from this person. I hear a story from that person. And I'm like, but nobody's heard my story.
Right.
And so I told it from my point of view. And the key to it is I want it to be vulnerable. Because, yes, I was in the military, but they don't teach you that. They don't
Right.
teach you how to be vulnerable. I'm going to tell you that right now. That is the one thing they don't teach you.
And being male in general,
Yeah.
that's not looked well upon sometimes.
Exactly. They see that as a weakness,
Right.
And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell my story, show people what I went through, through words, and I kind of like take you on the journey. So if you read that book, you're going to feel like you're there with me.
I love it. And let's talk about the title of it, because that is so fabulous.
It's called Don't Focus on Why Me, From Motorcycle Accident to Miracle.
Love that. I mean, that is such a perfect title. Did you come up with that?
I did. I
Okay.
came up with it by myself, and they actually wanted me to change it. The guys that I was working with, they wanted me to change the title. I was like, no.
I think it's perfect because really, if someone's looking in the biggest library in the world for picking up books really anymore is online, it says everything you need to know in that title and subtitle.
Yeah. And so the other thing about that book, the cover, remember I told you I did photography.
Right.
Those pictures on the cover are my pictures.
Oh, that is so
So
wonderful.
that is actually my motorcycle. The one I
Okay.
had the accident on. And where I told you I used to go to the dock, that
Right.
is actually that dock that I used to sit on at the
Oh,
lake.
I love that. How did it feel to publish this book?
Well, the day I published it, I felt like, oh, that's a load off of me.
Right.
Because, it had been a while, as in writing and the emotions that I kept, bringing up day after day as I'm typing. You know what I mean? That was a drain. It was a drain on me. And so I would literally have to take naps after I write because the emotional drain.
Oh, yes.
And so that it was a great feeling though. Once I finally like sat back and thought about it, was like, wow, I just published a freaking book. Like, wait a minute.
Right?
Look what I just did. My
Oh, I love it. I bet she's so proud.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, that is fantastic. And you get asked to speak a good bit. At, you're a professional speaker. Where can people learn more about you and how to possibly have you as one of their motivational speakers at their next event?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So they can easily go to ameymotivation.com. That's AMEY motivation.com. That's my website where you can find not only where to book me as a speaker, but also you can find all my social media handles, my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter, my LinkedIn. And I think my YouTube might be linked up there as well. But you can find all that and you can find the book. There's a link to the book up there as well. So there you
Perfect.
go. One-stop shop.
I love it. You did well. You did well. And from a web designer, I would expect no less.
That's right.
Oh gosh, Kiwan, I think it's pretty amazing and exciting to know that someone could go through a hideous thing like you went through and come out with so much to offer the world and so much joy still in life.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's an important message for people to know. You're not just getting through it. You're not trying to get
Yeah.
over it. You're incorporating it into your life, retooling and coming out stronger.
Yeah. As they say, I'm not surviving, I'm thriving.
Exactly. And thank you for thriving with me today. I am so excited to make your acquaintance.
Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's show. Thank you for listening. Now, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave a rating and review or share with a friend. And if you really, really liked it, go ahead and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'll see you next week on Persistence U with Lisbeth.